You are listening to Israel Vision Talk.
The Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, together with the WJC, the World Jewish Congress, held the 10th annual event honoring Christian leaders committed to Israel. The reception and dinner took place at Jerusalem's Waldorf Astoria Hotel, known as the Night to Honor Our Christian Allies. This year's awards went to Canadian-Israeli Dr. Jay Rawlings for producing more than 130 documentaries about Israel over the past 4 decades, and American Duke Westover, who received the Tourism Award for organizing over 75 tours to Israel. Duke Westover also served as the right-hand man of Reverend Jerry Falwell and was one of the founders of the Moral Majority, which exercised much influence in American politics in the 1980s and 90s.
On behalf of the Minister, Mr. Yariv Levin, the Director General, and myself, I thank you for your support and commitment in bringing Christian tourism to Israel. God bless you. Thank you very much.
But it's really great to be honored for something that's so important. So important to me is my dedication to Israel. It's been there for a long time. My wife and I have spent sometimes I think more time in Israel than I have at home. This is my 83rd trip to Israel. Thank you.
The Night to Honor Our Christian Allies was emceed by Knesset Chairman Allies Caucus Director Josh Reinstein and addressed by Caucus Chairman M.K. Robert Ilatov of the Israel Beitenu Party, Caucus member M.K. Michael Oren of the Kulanu Party, and leaders of the World Jewish Congress. Music for the event was provided by singer Birgitta Wexler-Lundvall, who immigrated from the former Soviet Union as a child.
As the chairman of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, I work to raise awareness about the amazing support Israel received from the Christian allies around the world. Our caucus aims to forge direct lines of communication between Knesset members and Christian leaders, organizations, and political representatives in Israel and internationally.
And I quote what our President Ronald Lauder, Ambassador Ronald Lauder, said in front of 5,000 Christians just a year ago in Jerusalem. He said, you know, for many of you are supporting the state of Israel, supporting the people in Israel, supporting the Jews around the world. Now it's time for the Jews to support the Christians in the Middle East.
To our honorees, to Duke Westover, Jay Rawlings, my old buddy, how are you? Good to see you. To my Knesset colleagues who are here, and Mickey Levy and Yal Hassan. So listen, if I look worse for wear, it's because I did just come in from the airport. I just came in from 2 days at the Parliament of Europe to mark, among other things, Holocaust Memorial Day, International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And I can say, as somebody who feels the way I feel and looks the way I look after traveling, that I've always known that the most important quality of a statesman is clarity, is the ability to see through the fog, to look through the dark glassly and see the light on the other side. I've just come from a leadership of a continent that has lost the ability to look through the glass darkly. So here I am in Europe on the very day where they are commemorating the murder, marking the murder of 6 million Jews. And what is the European Union doing on that day? It's boycotting Jewish goods. Now, those of you who have a little historical memory will remember that the Nazi era began in Germany in the 1930s by boycotting Jewish goods. So what has the EU decided? That Jewish products from Judea, Samaria, and the Golan will be labeled, which is a de facto boycott, because no one's going to put them on their grocery shelves in Germany and France, and no one's going to buy them in Germany and France. Now, there are 200 territorial disputes in the world. 200 works, but the Europeans aren't marking products from Chinese-occupied Tibet. They're not marking products from Turkish-occupied Cyprus. No, they're only marking the products of one party to one territorial dispute, and they just happen to be Jews. Imagine that. And then the Golan Heights. There are no Palestinians on the Golan Heights. You can't even exchange territory for peace because there's no Syrian state on the other side to exchange territory for peace. So what do the Europeans want? They want us to give the Golan Heights back to ISIS? Let me get this straight. Or maybe it just happens to be that these products are made by Jews. But here's the greatest lack of clarity. On the very day that Europe held ceremonies in remembrance of the Holocaust, they hosted the leader of a regime that officially denies the Holocaust. Worse than that, they hosted the leader of the Iranian regime that openly pledges to perpetrate another Holocaust because there are 6 million Jews living in the state of Israel and they pledge to wipe us off the map. What kind of lack of clarity is that? And where does it come from? Now, a couple years ago, the EU had a decision. They made a constitution for the European Union, and they had to decide what were the sources of European identity. Art, music, good food, right? But then the issue came up, should we note that Christianity is one of the sources of European identity? And you know what they decided in the EU? That the region of the world once known as Christendom, which had a church on every corner, would no longer acknowledge that one of the sources of its identity was Christian faith. From that moment on, friends, I believe they lost their clarity. I had a student once who worked for the EU, and he came back to me and said, "Professor, I've made a conclusion that the problem in ancient times with Europe about the Jews was they had too much Christianity. Today I understand the problem is they don't have enough Christianity." You want to buy a church? The Dutch government is selling 700 churches. Know why they're selling them? Because they're empty. Because they're empty. And I came from nearly 5 years serving in America, and I witnessed an extraordinary phenomenon. Wherever you had a church that loved the state of Israel, that church was full. Wherever people believed that those who bless my people shall be blessed, those churches were full.
The next award is the World Jewish Congress Knesset Christian Allies Caucus Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's something that we give out every year for 10 years now. And usually this is the part when I call up Rabbi Benny Alon, the president of the Israel Allies Foundation, former chairman of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, Unfortunately, today he won't be able to be here with us because he has fallen ill once again. He is battling cancer, and we really ask you for your prayers and to lift him up in prayer and hope that he gets a refuah shlema, a full recovery from his affliction. So he couldn't be here to give the award, but I really am excited that I have the opportunity to do so. And the reason is, and this is a little different than other awards, is because of our first chairman, Dr. Yuri Stern. And Dr. Yuri Stern was the founder of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus in 2004. And the idea of the caucus came through a conversation that I had with him. And he talked about a time when he was a refusenik in the Soviet Union. And he said that there were people and specific individuals who, during that time where they didn't really know what was happening outside the Iron Curtain, they were Christians and Christian leadership who would come in at the risk of their own life. Some were even caught and sent to Siberia, never to be heard from again. But there were these Christians who came and they would bring in information and they would take information out and they would film us and they would get our story told and they would get us to help. And that's why I know without a shadow of a doubt that Christian support for Israel isn't a means to an end. It's not a trick. It's not a way to convert Jews to Christianity. It's a real thing. It's a genuine love for the God of Israel, the people of Israel. It's something that people are willing to risk their lives for. And that always stuck with me. It was something that was very powerful, and I didn't have much knowledge about Christian support at the time. So when we started our inaugural event, which was on the 18th of January, 2004, we were sitting around the table and there were probably only 20 people there. I think it was just a handful of people. There was Becky Brimmer and Malcolm Heading and Sharon and Ray Sanders and Tom and Kate wasn't there at the time, but Tom was there, and there were a few people there. And right before the meeting, Yuri tapped me on the shoulder and he says, "You see that guy at the end with the white hair?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "He was one of those guys. He was one of those guys who was bringing in the information and sending it out." And that guy is Dr. Jay Rawlings. And so we're so honored to give him such a well-deserved Lifetime Achievement Award for not just what he does day in and day out with supporting Israel and making videos for Israel and standing with Israel and doing it for no personal reason or something. You know, he left a very lucrative practice in Canada. He's also, by the way, the first Canadian to ever accept this award. So as someone who lives in Canada, we're very excited about that. But he left a very lucrative job in Canada and a lot of things to basically do this because he loves the God of Israel, the Bible of Israel, and the people of Israel. So I'd like to call up the leadership again, Chairman of the Christian Allies Caucus, Robert Elatov, Mickey Levy, member of Knesset, Sam and Shai, and also Dr. Jay Rawlings to accept this award.
Well, you've heard a lot of wonderful speakers tonight, and I'm not going to go on too long, but I just want to say that, Josh, you started this thing of these evenings, and you said you had just a very few people in the beginning. I remember being there. Now, the one thing that you've been consistent in from the very beginning is a good meal. Can you say amen to that? Thank you so much. We are grateful for that, and I want to tell you a story. When my wife and I were called to come to Israel, it was 1969, and I was the assistant administrator of Canada's largest hospital, one of the hospitals in Canada's largest multi-hospital unit operation, the Hamilton Civic Hospitals, near Toronto. And my wife was, we were very happy. We had a little boy, David. David, wave your hands. We were very happy indeed, but there was something that we felt there was missing in life, and that was an adventure. And we prayed, and the Lord gave us a word. In fact, He gave Meridel the word. My wife is not here tonight, and she sends her regrets. She's actually in Kathmandu, Nepal, and she's there with our fourth son, Daniel, working on a film on trafficking, against human trafficking and sexual abuse of minors. That's her specialty. And so I've thrown my lot in as a filmmaker to help her make this. David started it and made 2 trips to Nepal last year, and we're finishing it up now, I hope. And I'll be writing the script, or I'm in the middle of writing the script. And she couldn't be here tonight, and so she sends her regrets. And she's going on tomorrow to meet with our second son, Chris, who also was with her in Nepal, supporting his mom. And he's a high-tech guy works in a company in Finland, and he's meeting his good friend Amarjeet with Meridel in New Delhi tomorrow night for Shabbat dinner, and they're going to be talking about getting films, videos, documentaries that we've made about Israel to teach the Indian subcontinent. You know, there's a few people there about Israel, and so we're very excited about that. But anyway, she couldn't be here. So in the middle of this, we felt the Lord gave us a word, and the first part of it was, if you love me, love my people. Comfort ye my people. And the second word that God gave to me was from Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 2, which says, go among the nations, set up a standard or a banner, and publish and declare and conceal not and publish. I think it's the only verse in the Bible where the word publish occurs 3 times. Another version, it says in the Message Bible, it says, go for it, get the word out, preach it, and broadcast it all over the world. And so that's what we've been trying to do for these last nearly 40 years. And I really thank the World Jewish Congress, the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus for this award tonight. I really don't feel worthy of it because, as you know, any award is not, as the Duke has said, it's not an individual event. It's a project. It's a family event. Josh is here, our third son. Wave your hand, Josh. And my granddaughter's here. And so it's a family event. And not only is it a family event, it's friends. Jan Karnas, where are you? He's filming tonight, right there with the camera. Jan and I have worked together on many of our documentaries, and I really honor him tonight as well. And our friend here, Yuda Chumero, is a classmate of David from the Anglican school here in Jerusalem. So it's a family event of these kind of awards. But I don't feel like I've made it. I don't feel I've arrived yet. Do you know that feeling? I feel like I've still got some things to do. And I remember that line in Schindler's List where Oscar Schindler is speaking to his accountant, which is played by Ben Kingsley. Do you remember that line, that one-liner, when he said, and with tears in his eyes, I could have done more. And I think it touched all of us in the theater that night. I think none of us left the theater here in Jerusalem without tears. And I feel the same way tonight, that there's a lot more that could be done. But when we got to Haifa to make Aliyah, to come here, I tell you a little story. I didn't know how to stay. We hadn't found our Jewish roots at that time. Our grandmothers, on both sides, were Jewish, but it had been hidden and assimilated, etc. And so I was looking for a way to stay in Israel, you know, get a visa. So I went up to the University of Haifa, and I was speaking to the administrator of the university, and I was saying, I'd like to maybe do a PhD up here. I'd like, you know, help me to get a visa to stay here. And, you know, when he saw my CV, being a hospital administrator from the University of Toronto, he said, do you know that the Rambam Hospital is looking for a hospital administrator? And has been for 3 years. Go there, I'll call the medical director, and he'll receive you right away. So I went there, and after a couple of hours of discussion, he said, I believe you're the candidate. He said, we've been looking for someone with your credentials for the last 3 years. And I said, oh, okay, thank you very much. He said, we'll call you. I'll have a meeting with our committee and we'll get back to you in a few days. And so I go back to our home and I'm saying to Marydale, oh, I think I've got a job. They're going to give me salary. They want to give me, you know, a housing allowance and a car and this and that. And you know what? Every time I spoke to Marydale, I didn't feel it was the right thing to do. So we prayed, and what I got from the Lord was what the Lord said to me was, what have I put in your heart already? And I said, yes, Lord. In my heart is to have a window to the world on behalf of Israel and your people, and to tell their ancient story in a modern context so that we can, you know, educate a worldwide community about your people. And so several days later, the awaited phone call happened, and I picked up the phone and he said, yes, Mr. Rawlings, we've made a decision. We want to offer you the job, and we just want to know when can you start. And then I had to stop him and say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The Lord won't let me do it, take the job. The Lord said no. And he says, the who said what? do you want more money? What can I, you know, to change your mind? And I said, no, sir, thank you so much. It seems that I have another business to take care of. I had not made a movie, okay? I had not made a documentary. I hadn't been trained in that area. I had no money to do it. We were living on a very slim budget, not any kind of a budget to make a movie. And I had some Job's counselors and comforters. I won't even say who they are, quite well-known people in the country. And they all said, well, you know how much it costs to make a movie? Do you know, have you ever made one before? Da, da, da. So I came home that night and I said, Marydale, this is crazy. This is either God or it's crazy. And you know, a few months later, a friend of ours, David Maines from Canada, some of you Canadians might know him. He's the father of Christian television across Canada. And he came and visited us in our home. And while there, he said, Jay, please come and visit us in Toronto. We want you to go on TV and tell some of the stories you're telling me. And so I did. And while I was there, a young man came up to me from within the organization, and he said, my name is so-and-so, and he said, I feel like I need to help you make a movie about Israel. And I said, put it there. And that was the beginning. Within 6 weeks, we had a film crew in Israel, and that was the beginning of Apples of Gold. And that movie was one of the most, well, it became a successful movie as a motivator of Christians for Israel. And the foreign ministry thought it was okay, I guess, and they gave us the nod of approval, bought a number of prints and put them in their embassies and consulates around the world. And it was used as a teaching tool for Christians all over the world to teach them about modern Israel and the fulfillment of prophecy. And here's what the Lord showed me when I was writing the script. It says in the book of Proverbs, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pictures of silver. And when I got this understanding, it was to allow the Israelis to tell their story, to give a voice to the voiceless in the media. And this is exactly the way or the mandate that the Lord has given to us over these last years, making over 100 documentaries, some longer, some shorter, on Israel's historic biblical cause. I got a letter from Prime Minister Menachem Begin one time thanking me for explaining to the rest of the world Israel's historic and biblical cause. And that's why we're here tonight, to continue that mandate on, to get the word out among the nations, because you know what? It's not going to fail. It's not going to fail. This land is here forever, and this people is here forever. This is a forever project. And we just want to be a part of that. And I'm so glad. And I'll tell you one more little story before I close. It's about this building. When we were making our second major documentary on the refuseniks, and that's how I met Yuri Stern, he gave us the names of the people that we should meet inside Russia, and we did. We got interviews, some of the most fantastic 16 or 8 millimeter, super 8 millimeter interviews of these refuseniks, and they were so brave. So when we had it all together, we brought it, we got it together, and we made the script, and we were doing some recreations of scenes. And the opening scene in the movie is inside Russia, and it's a Russian soldier walking down this hallway, and it looked just like a Russian building, you know, a really kind of grungy old building. And where were we going to find a building like that? And so we looked around, and this building that has been demolished was it called the Palace Hotel? And so we went in there, we got permission from the people, and we filmed this sequence. And right in this building. And that movie won the first prize award for the Canadian Film and Television Association. And it went around the world. And here's the most important thing about this film in context of what we're talking about tonight. That movie was shown in the major capitals around the world. Ottawa, Washington, London, you name it. The major capitals around the world. In premier showings, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1,000 people came out. Jews and Christians together came together with this movie. And I saw, when we were doing the movie, I saw a vision that it was like a sling. You know, you have on a sling, you have two sides, and you have a thing that holds the pebble, like David's sling holds the stone. And the film can was like this, the pebble. And the Christians on one side and the Jews on the other side, in unity, standing before the embassies of the Soviet Union, saying, "Let my people go." And you know, about 5 years after the launch of this film, Glasnost, Perestroika happened, the Iron Curtain came down, and since that time, over 1 million Russian Jews have come out and are here in Israel tonight, like this lady was singing tonight. And so, you know, we're living in a time when the prophets are being fulfilled, and this is happening all around us, and we can be a part of it, and that's the most exciting thing of all. And in conclusion, I'll say this, that I have to give thanks to all the Jewish people that we've interviewed over the years. The camera has been a tool that we could go in front of people and get their stories, and they could tell their story, and we could put it together and tell others around the world of how they're fulfilling the Word of God and not even know they're doing it. That was the mystery. They were fulfilling the prophets, didn't even know they were fulfilling the prophets. And so Gates of Brass has been useful together with the Christian Jewish community. And as Tom mentioned, Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Oh, how wonderful and blessed it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Can you say amen to that? Amen. Thank you very much.
Well, we want to thank our two award winners, Duke Westover, Jay Rawlings, for what they've done throughout their lifetime and will continue to do in the years to come. And we want to thank all of you for being with us here tonight and for the work you do year in and year out. We spend this one day a year to celebrate the fact that Christians are standing with Israel, but the rest of the year we expect you guys all to work. So starting tomorrow morning, it's time to get back to work. We thank you, and again, just on behalf of the World Jewish Congress and the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, we know that we can't do any of the work that we're doing around the world without you, without your leadership, without the grassroots that are standing behind you, whether it be through prayer or through tourism or through political support. It's a new time. It's a new time when Jews and Christians are coming together. So we want to thank you again for being with us.
עזרי בין השם עושה שמיים וארץ אל יתן למות רגליך אל ינום שומרך הנה לא ינום ולא ישן שומר ישראל השם שומרך השם צילך על יד ימינך יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה השם ישמורך מכל רע ישמור את נפשך